Assalamu alaikum. This is a computer science teacher, Sir Fawad Akhtar Ansari, and today I have designed a question with two different solutions for your better understanding. So the question is almost the same, just like the last question. So let's analyze the question. What is the requirement? So it says that write a program in your chosen high-level language to input a number, then write a function to return input numbers square, and then it says that if user inputs -1, then program must be terminated with a suitable message, and then output the square. So let's make a solution of this question. Alright, so I leave some lines for the function. Now as I told you in the beginning that I will show you two different solutions of the same question, because as I told you many times that there are many variants of the same code, same program. So it depends upon you that what program you make along with your own logic. You may add validation checks, you may add conditional statements, or you may use loops depending on the question's requirement. So let's make the solution. So let me check the question's requirement: input a number, then write a function a. So this is my main program, and so I take a variable number and I take its data type integer. You may take float, it's up to you. Then I use a keyword input, and then I use a prompt, enter a number. Now I make a function, and I make a function and I write my function name is calculate underscore square. This is my function name, and then I write my parameter name. I write my parameter name user underscore input. If you have got 3 inputs, so you may add more parameters. So it's pretty simple. I have got 1 input, so that is why I used 1 parameter. If I have used 2 inputs, so 2 parameter, 3 input, 3 parameters. It's up to you. Now here I use a keyword return. Wait, I always forget to write the colon here. Now next is return user input. So I have to calculate the square, so I write twice asterisk symbol and then 2. Done. Okay, so let's see what is the next requirement. It says if user input -1, then program must be terminated. Okay, so I have to mention here enter a number to calculate square, or input -1 to quit, or you may write to exit. It's up to you to exit the program. Now next thing is we use the if statement. If number equals to -1, then print. If this value becomes true, then print program terminated, or whatever the output you think that it is feasible. So it's up to you. Then we use else. Print square is, and then comma. We need a function to be stored in the variable. So before doing this, I first It is my approach that I am storing my variable, my function name here. So for example, I take a variable result and I store my function name here. So you may call the function anywhere. This is my perspective that I'm calling the function right after the input. So number. So I already called a function. So okay. Alright, so now it's time to test the code. Although the code is not completed, but I am testing the code to check that so far is it working or not. Okay, G. So now it says enter a number. 3 square is 9. Okay, so the program is working so far so good. Let's do another test. 5. Alright. Now the next thing is that if you focus the question, it says that if the user inputs -1, then program must be terminated if the user inputs -1. But if you see here that when I run the code, it just asks the simple question, then I input 4 and then it gives me the square. But the problem is it does not ask me to input another number. So the logic is pretty much clear that we must input the number continuously until I input -1. So what I have to do, I have to trap the user input. I have to trap the user input with the loop. So I take the while loop, while true. So while true, now the next thing will be inside the loop. So I am just taking it inside the loop. So now one more thing is, okay, let's test the code, then I will tell you. Okay, it says line 7 has got error. Alright, let's debug this code. Okay, let me check the indentation. Okay, then alright, we are doing it. Alright, now test another time. Okay, it says line 7 still has got an error, so we have to figure out and debug the code. Okay, so okay, let's make it capital and then check it. Alright, now it is working. Now I input 3. Okay, 3 square is 9. Then I input 5, 25, 6, 36, 7, 49, 8, 64, 9, 81. Then if I input -1, so program terminated, but it is still asking me to input a number. This is not a good logic. So how do we make it workable? So now we have to, in line number 11, I have to, once the program is terminated, it should not ask to input a number. So we have to use a keyword break. So break means that we will get out of the loop, we will get outside of the loop. So that is why we are using break. So now it's time to test the code. Let me remove extra line. So now let's see. Okay, I input 3, okay, 4, okay, 5, 6, 7. Alright, now I input -1, so it says program terminated. Now it says code execution successful. This is a online compiler's output. So our program says program terminated, and now it is not asking to input a number. So now our logic is working perfectly. So this is how we can make the code. We made the bugs, we debugged it. We have to find out that where the problem is, so we have to carefully write the program. I hope you understood the concept of writing the code, that we trapped the user inside a loop to input a number until we input -1. This is a okay. Now let's erase the extra lines. So this is a program that I made for you. Another solution that it is in my mind, so I want to share the solution of the same question with you. The reason is, mostly students ask me that, sir, you are making the program with the parameter. What if you make a program without the parameter? So how do we make it? So that is why I am making the same solution but with a different approach. And the approach is, in the next solution I will not take user input as a parameter. In this solution you see that we made a function with the parameter. Now in the next solution I will make a function without the parameter. So how our code will work? Now I first clear the output of this. Now I make the code without the parameter. So the question is same. If you see the question, there is no restriction that take the input inside the function or outside. Just say write a function to return the input numbers square. Okay, so let's make it. Okay, so what do we do here? First now I am writing the code without the parameter. Okay, keep in mind I am writing the code without parameter. So I take this statement, I just copy it. I will do the editing later on. First let me copy here. So I take the user input inside the function. So when we take the user input inside the function, so we do not need to pass the argument to the function. So now here I am removing it because we will call the function in the main program. So if user inputs -1, then we will exit the function, right? Or we say that the user does not need to continue, so return none. We write this keyword. Now we write it in the uppercase, none. Return none means that user is not willing to continue. So when the user is not willing to continue, we will get outside of the function and we will jump to the main program. Else what will happen if the user is inputting the value? So otherwise it will calculate the square. So I have not passed an argument because we are taking the input inside the function, so no need to pass the argument to the function. So already we have got a variable. Then we take that if user inputs -1, then it means that user is no longer wishes to continue the code, so it will jump to the main program. Otherwise else it will calculate the square. Okay, so the next thing is, in the main program we delete the input because we already have taken the input inside the function, so it remains same. We call the function into the main program. Now in the main program we say that if user inputs -1, then we will display program terminated. Here our program will be terminated. If you say that why shouldn't we write here, so it means that we are going back to the main program. So we will get outside of the function and we will go to the main program. So in the main program we will write this condition, program terminated. If you say that you want to write inside the function program terminated, so you may do an experiment. I do not explain you, so I want you to brainstorm. You may do this experiment, write the code to break the loop inside the function and figure out yourself that what happens. Again, I'm not explaining you because I want you to brainstorm and write your experience in the comments. Alright, so the result, I have stored my function name into the variable result, and then program terminated, break, and the same code remains the same. So now it's time to test the code. Okay, now I click on the run. Okay, it says line number 9 contains an error. Okay, so let me check. Okay, the error is I did not erase the variable name because my function does not has a parameter, so that is why it gave an error. Okay, so now I input 2. Okay, it says line number 10 has got a bug, so let's figure out. Okay, so here I will write if result variable is none. So I did not I forgot to edit this line. So if the result variable is none, so then it will terminate the program. Now I input 2. Okay, 4, 3, 9, 4, 16, 5, 25, 6, 36, and now I input -1 to terminate. Let's see what happens. Okay, program terminated. So now it means that our logic is working perfect. So this is how we make the code of the same question. So we made 2 codes of the same question with different approaches. So it's totally up to you and the question's requirement. If you see the question, it does not indicate that it says that take the input inside the function. It does not say take the input inside the function. So that is why we made 2 different solutions with different approaches. One solutions I made the user input was in the main program, and the second solution I made that the user input is in the function. So it's totally up to you, but it also depends upon the question's requirement, that which approach you have got to solve the question. So it's totally depending on the user understanding as well, along with the question's requirement. I hope you got the concept, and try to do experiments on these codes. Use your own logic and use some validation checks to improve these codes as well. So let's find out today's class. Thank you so much for attending the class. Take care. Allah Hafiz. He's got the knowledge, always rocking the class. Never in college, he's got the skills, making programming cool with every lesson. He's breaking the rules. Mr. Akhtar, the guru of computer science. He's the one who got us through like a reliant from O levels exams to acing every test. We're learning from the best. He's the very best.